afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Sports Exchange. And what a day this is going to be here. And we're doing it on a Saturday because I'm going to be tied up with some Super Bowl commitments coming Tuesday. But meanwhile, I'm glad to have my new co-host for the day and perhaps potentially down the road as the situation presents itself, Candy Ebling. And Candy, welcome to the big show.
Thank you, Scott. Glad to be here.
All right, and alongside here, the first segment here in the first hour is Jason Brock of the South Florida Tribune. And Jason, let's talk about some developments back in our hometown. The Detroit Pistons, who returned downtown. The Palace of Auburn Hills is about to be demolished, and they're playing in Cobo Arena. They played in Cobo Arena, and now they're at Little Caesars. So is that good or bad for the Pistons that they're actually playing at Little Caesars Arena?
Scott, thanks for having me as always.
You're welcome.
In a way, I would think for a lot of newer basketball fans, it is. If you really look down the road at the Pistons going into the future, and Tom Gores moved them downtown for a reason. There's a lot of financial stability there now, and we know of other businessmen. The Cavaliers owner, he's been downtown building, Dan Gilbert. So for a business side of things, I think that's the way Tom Gores was looking at it, why they moved there. As far as a lot of the fan base, I don't think that they were a big fan of leaving, northern Oakland County. There's a lot of businesses and cities that, most likely will or probably would fail because, that's where they got a lot of their business. So, and as far as the fan base point, I grew up here in Lake Orion area myself. And when you've been to a Piston game, you've been there your whole life. I wasn't there during the horrible Cobo times, but northern Oakland County. I mean, been a Piston fan your whole life. I can see why they would be upset.
Well, I've always been partial toward the Palace of Auburn Hills. When I lived back there in the 90s and the late 80s, I thought it was a no-brainer for me. I've always been a suburb type of guy. And they were selling out the place right and left. All they had to do was win, or at least be competitive. And for many, many years, they didn't do that. Once Mr. Davidson passed on and then left the franchise to his widow, then, they weren't able to spend as much. Joe Dumars was the efficient vice president and general manager for the longest time, but some of the bad draft decisions that he made, by drafting Darko Milicic over Carmelo Anthony didn't help his cause. But when they were good and they were competitive, it's one thing. But when you slack off in a very competitive sports town with 4 major league teams, then unquestionably the competition for that entertainment dollar becomes what it is. Let's not lose sight of the folks that are listening for the first time. In my opinion, no matter how bad the Detroit Lions are, they're going to always draw anyways because football is Michigan's a football frenzy town. The Detroit Tigers have been well. But if I had to rank them in order, I would definitely say the Lions first, the Red Wings second, the Tigers third, the Pistons are the fourth one in the total poll. Candy, do you have an opinion for the brief time that you've been following it with us?
I think moving them downtown was part of the revitalization of downtown Detroit, and they've really revamped downtown Detroit and made it a place to go to, a destination, as opposed to putting them out in the suburbs where if someone wants to get a hotel, is there a lot of hotels there? If they want to do a Red Wings game and a Pistons game, if they stay downtown, they're right there. So I think economic-wise, that's why they made the move.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Jason, about the Pistons move downtown? They're not winning right now. They're a sub-500 team, and they struggled at Cobo Arena many, many years ago, which led to the decision to go to the suburbs, beginning with the Pontiac Silverdome and then ultimately with the Palace. So, I'm with you. You being a Lake Orion guy, it works for you.
They're 16 and 28 right now. They're not. They went and got Blake Griffin. They're trying to build on that, but I don't think that it's going to take a couple of years to draw some more attendance there, and to actually feel like it's their hometown. Auburn Hills, they had the promo going to work, and I think as a city, people feed on that here in Michigan, obviously, and I think they need that fandonium back. It ain't really a business standpoint, but you got to have your fanfare there, and if the team's not winning, it's hard to draw. But
doesn't matter where you put them if they're not winning, right. They're not going to draw no matter where you put them.
So I think they're kind of going in that direction now. I think with Stefanski and Tom Gores. But as far as the business side of things, I can see it. Things don't last forever, but they did renovate the Palace. I think it was like a few years back,
right,
for about a $4 million deal. So I'm not sure why they went in that direction, but they did. So it's just one of those things where I guess things just don't last forever.
Yeah, but you know what? Interesting point there. That to me, now that you brought it up, is a mystery to me. Why would you invest money into a first-class facility which only been around 20 years and then end up moving downtown? Again, we'll never know all the inside reasons why they did it, except for what Candy pointed out. Good way to bring everybody downtown, keep the activity, the revitalization of the city itself. But good point. Yeah, you have a first-class facility, and now obviously they got a sweet deal for the real estate side where they'll be able to develop it. But nonetheless, I am not a big believer whatsoever that you build a stadium and tear it down inside of 30 years, albeit Bill Davidson built it with his own money, and as part of the sale, Tom Gores inherited it, and he's a wealthy billionaire anyways who does a lot of real estate, as evidenced by what he's done in California. So I guess those are some interesting points. We'll see how the move with Little Caesars plays out. Now on to the next subject, okay? The one that matters the most. The Super Bowl is 8 days away. Some observations for you on the Super Bowl.
I haven't seen this line yet. I'm looking forward to it, but I know that the San Francisco defensive line is really playing on point. They're just their time and snap counts are crazy good right now, and if they can keep Kansas City to a minimum, it should be a low-scoring game, but it's going to come down to San Francisco's favor. And they can just block. If you just look at San Francisco, the way they run the ball, it doesn't matter who they got back there. You got Coleman, you got Mostert, you had Jeff Wilson, even he's on his practice squad. Those guys can really run the ball, and it's just all about blocking, and they just know how to do that zone blocking, and they have, even for the last 6 or 7 years, going back to when Jim Harbaugh was coaching. So just credit John Lynch and them for keeping what they got going as far as running the football, even when Frank Gore was there. So, and they just never stopped, blocking. They just run block so well. It's crazy. So, again, it's just going to be how good San Francisco plays on defense, and if they're able to run the ball and keep them in the game.
And Nick Bosa is a very key part of that San Francisco defense for sure. And I think the thing that will be San Francisco's best defense will be their running game, and that way they can keep the Kansas City Chiefs off the field. Candy, some observations.
The old adage is defenses win championships. It's not the offense, it's the defense. So I have a soft spot for my Packers. I'm sad that they're not there, but their defense didn't stop San Francisco's run, and San Francisco's defense stopped us. So, Kansas City, watch out, because your defense is not to the same extent as San Francisco is. If they play like they played against the Packers, watch out, Mahomes. Even with your running ability and your scrambling ability, watch out.
Okay. So, Candy, my question to you is this, okay? With the 49ers, are you rooting for them to win the game, knowing full well that the Packers, would like to at least have lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion?
To me, it really doesn't matter who wins this Super Bowl. I like both teams, but I think it would be interesting if Mahomes got his first title. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is a average quarterback, but if you surround him with the right pieces, they could definitely win. And with this defense, I think they could win. So to me, it really doesn't matter.
And the matchup, Jason, I was hoping for was actually the Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch of Super Bowl I. So, the NFL got it right putting the Packers and the Bears the opening week, but unfortunately the NFL did not get its fairy tale ending having this as the final game of the year. Some of your thoughts about that, Jason?
You know what? I was thinking that too. Because Kansas City ain't been there since, 1968? So that was the first Super Bowl,
Well, they beat the Minnesota Vikings a few years afterwards, but the first Super Bowl was the Packers and the Chiefs. So it's been over 50 years for sure. So.
And it could have been, it could have been that, a lot of crazy. These playoffs have been crazy good, and going back to the Chiefs-Texans game down 24-0. I mean, that was one of the best games so far that I've seen. Kind of just a mess up there by Houston, but I think Kansas City, they're very versatile though, and they're going to be showing Robert Saleh some good looks on defense because they can run the ball with Tyreek Hill on some reverse plays as well. So they're going to try to do a lot of trick plays, I think, and they got him in their Andy Reid's little trick book, so it's going to be interesting to see there because Kansas City is versatile. With Damian Williams, it just works well with their offense, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I think the X factor is how effective Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins are as wideouts, but watch out for Travis Kelce. If Mahomes goes ahead and throws him the football, we know that Kelce is a bulldog and a bulldozer, and he knows how to get yards after the catch. So, they definitely have an explosive offense for sure. Now, my question to you is, Jason, how good do you think that the Kansas City defense really is? You got Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, and, of course, Terrell Suggs was added later on, and Steve Spagnuolo is the new defensive coordinator.
You know what? I noticed he's missed on a couple blitz calls, Spagnuolo, but they're really kind of under talented right now. I think they were like 20th in rush defense or something like that. So they can get run on a little bit. So look for San Francisco to just come out and run the ball right away on them, and it's going to be up to Andy Reid and them and their defense to stop it. And it's one of those things where you got Terrell Suggs that they signed, a free agent there, and it's going to be about the rush defense. And if they can hold, under 100 yards, I look at chances as far as rush defense.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Well, Andy Reid will be making his first Super Bowl appearance since the time that he was in Jacksonville and he lost to the New England Patriots. So he's definitely been in the playoffs quite a bit of time. I'm sure that there are a lot of folks out there that are hoping that Andy gets over the hump and has a chance to win one. Yet he was a former assistant for the Green Bay Packers many years ago. I think Candy was when Brett Favre was there. Mm-hmm. And he has Steve Mariucci, John Gruden on that staff. So he had a lot of future NFL head coaches that came to the Green Bay system that subsequently became not only were they future head coaches, but pretty good ones.
Yep, that was good.
I like him. I like him, guys, to put a lot of this on Jimmy Garoppolo. And I like their defense to come out with that game plan. And that should give him a good chance to win because Garoppolo hasn't done it yet. Kind of a prove-it game for him. And I think that the Chiefs' defense goes with that approach. They got a good chance.
So how efficient do you think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be? Obviously, we've talked a lot about the 49ers' run But you've got Emmanuel Sanders